All right, my friends, welcome back to Frogboy X1 Gaming. I'm Andrew, and today I wanted to kind of discuss the video that Spratty Darren just made about his conclusion about needing upscalers, um, at least for him. And I wanted to kind of give you guys my honest thoughts about this whole thing. Um, and my conclusion is just a little bit different than his. I mean, obviously, like his everything he said is 100% true. If you're going for 4K, if 4K is your thing and you want high ultra, just the most visual candy that you can get at a playable frame rate at or above 60 frames per second, even in my testing with the 4080 Super, that's the 4080 Super right there, or my 7900 XT, yes, upscalers are 100% necessary for that $1,000 GPU range. And it actually, um, that extends all the way down to your mid-range, like your 7800 XT, your 4070, your 4070 Super, all of those cards that I've tested throughout this year, definitely all are capable of doing 4K with the use of upscalers. So that is something to keep in mind if 4K is your thing. Um, you can easily get in there with, I would recommend like one of AMD's 16 gigabyte GPUs, either their 7800 XT or their 7900 GRE, just because you'll have the VRAM budget to be able to push that. I'm not saying that the 4070 and 4070 Super are not capable of that, but they definitely are. It just you're going to have varying levels of success with the 12 gigabyte VRAM buffers for that. And yeah, so 4K. So here's my conclusion, or at least my feelings on this whole thing. I'm not as 100% against upscalers as I used to be. Now I did come from a console, and I was getting sick of checkerboard rendering, all of that stuff. Just giving me a fuzzy, blurry, icky looking image on my 4K screens. But things have definitely changed considerably for me and my gaming habits since going PC. Now, obviously, I have the C2, which is 4K. I have a Vizio H1 OLED, which is 4K. I also have a 1440p 32-inch monitor that is just 1440p. And then I have the new ultra-wide OLED, which is 3440 by 1440p. And in my testing, across multiple different levels of GPUs, and we're going all the way down to the 7600 XT forward when it comes to this. A lot of testing with and without FSR, DLSS, even XeSS. I don't generally go out of my way to use XeSS that often because, in my opinions, in my opinion, like the over sharpened effect when you're trying to use, on a 1440p monitor, it doesn't see, I don't know. It's hard for me. Some people love that 4K crispy look looking image. And sometimes I do too. Sometimes I do too. There are a few games out there that absolutely thrive with that crispy 4K, just oh my gosh, that crispy look. I play a lot of open world games. I play a lot of racing games. I play a lot of stuff that has a lot of thick vegetation or just vegetation the majority of the game. And so having that crispy look to it makes it look unnatural for me, and I don't like that. I really don't like that. So when I was able to find virtual super resolution, which is VSR, as well as DSR for the NVIDIA side of things. This essentially lets you render at a higher pixel and then, or render at a higher resolution and then downscale to, I mean, you can, if your GPU is strong enough to do 6K, 8K, you can downsample to 4K as well. It is possible. You're definitely going to need an upscaler for that on whatever GPU you're using, but it is possible. It is significantly easier to do that on an AMD GPU, whereas with the NVIDIA GPUs, you're going to have to get into like the DSR settings, and it will, at least in my experience so far, the highest I think I've been able to get is maybe 5K, maybe 6K, with the legacy upscalers and stuff, where the legacy scaling in there. So it's just been a better, like AMD gives me absolutely every single resolution from like 144p all the way up to 8K resolution. I can pick any which one I want. I don't have to do any custom anything like that, so I can definitely use that. And as you know, like I buy a lot of games from previous generations all the way up to brand new games that are just coming out, and I test these games and I look at them and I find what works best for me. My threshold minimum is 60 FPS. Sometimes I'm willing to go 40, 45, 40 FPS, you know, for a visual quality thing. If I can turn on, you know, because then that way I can, you know, if I'm getting that natively, I can always flip on like FSR or DLSS or something like that, and I can usually get my frame rate back as I'm downsampling. Now, to answer Spratty's question about are upscalers necessary, this 100% depends on the screen resolution you buy. If you buy a 4080 Super or 7900 XT or 7900 XTX, you in fact are going to pay $1,000, give or take, you know, $700 to $1,000 for pretty much 100% native 1440p. Like native 1440p is usually, in my, at least in my experience, in my testing across multiple games, pretty easy to hit 1440p native on any of these GPUs easily. In some cases, obviously, the games that will be able to run 4K native, if you run those 4K native and they're over 60 and then you downsample the 1440p, absolutely incredible image quality. And that, my friends, because like Spratty was saying, and I 100% agree with this, is on 4K resolution, sometimes you're going to have like an AA solution that's going to give you jaggies or, you know, just a little bit of instability around the lines and stuff like that. Whereas when you flip on like FSR or DLSS, it cleans that up. I mean, if worst case scenario, if you're not cool with upscaling, just think of it as another solution to AA, because it basically is. Like, it cleans up the image quality, all of that stuff. Obviously, FSR is going to introduce ghosting and stuff. If that's something that really bugs you, I really don't know what to tell you. If you want that, like, because in my experience with both DLSS and FSR, there's just no perfect solution either way. So at least in my testing, I mean, like, I'll play games that look absolutely incredible on FSR. Like the other day, I did a video Horizon, and I was showing you guys this, like how it was different from, you know, on an NVIDIA card using FSR versus the AMD card. Well, I actually was downsampling my AMD experience from 4K to 1440p, and I think the NVIDIA one was running native. That's why it kind of just stood out to me. It was running native at 3440 by 1440, and I just noticed the ghosting like really bad on the NVIDIA side. And when I flipped over, and I looked at the when I looked at the footage again, I was like, oh my gosh, that's why I don't really care much to do like them side by sides and stuff. I'm still trying to figure things out. And like I said, AMD just makes it so easy for me to get in there and use virtual super resolution, that I just forget about it. I literally, it's like one of those things I set and forget, and then just move on. And yeah, trying to find like negative image quality while using VSR, on an AMD card, with FSR enabled. Like, guys, it's a lot harder, trust me, because that virtual super resolution is already making your pixels like super dense and, you know, clear, like cleaning up the image quality like really like a lot. So it's like, wow, that's crazy. But yeah, so I guess Tara made a video. I'm gonna have Tara on later today. We're gonna sit here and we're gonna do like a little video for you guys. We'll obviously be touching on some of that stuff. But overall, what Spratty's saying about needing an upscaler for 4K, obviously you can set lower settings on your GPUs. You could start it low and start adding stuff back until you get to a, you know, min max or whatever. You get a good image quality versus stable gameplay. You can absolutely do that. Even the 7900 XT is capable of native 4K at a mixture of settings among a lot of games. So don't think that you're going to spend $1,000 for a 4K GPU and not be able to utilize that. Um, But yes, I do think that if you are going 4K, because I think we're finally entering, obviously 4090, with the 4090, we're obviously entering a phase to where, we're starting to get good playable frame rates at 4K. Obviously, it's going to be another generation or two before we're at a level of, confidence of where we are right now with 1440p. 1440p, in my opinion, is basically the new standard. Chasing the 4K and all of that stuff, I mean, we should kind of maybe be grateful that there are upscalers that allow us to take advantage of 4K resolution and still get, decent image quality that looks good, that looks crispy, that, obviously both of these upscalers are going to add some sort of, artifacting or ghosting or just, maybe lack of detail or something like that when you're pushing to 4K. That's a lot of pixels. That is a lot of pixels that the GPU has to be able to produce and put out. So if you're chasing 4K, absolutely, I think, you are more inclined to be having to use an upscaler, which is not necessarily bad. It just depends on what upscaler you're using, on what game, and because I none of these upscalers are created equally. They all have their pros and cons. So that's just something that you're going to have to decide. Obviously, you've got frame generation technology now that's going to help push the envelope even a little bit further. I personally can't really tell a major difference between the two. The only real difference is you consistently get higher FPS on the AMD frame generation side, just because of the way it's implemented. And when you really look at it, at the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. You're still going to get screen instability no matter what GPU you're using, no matter what frame generation you're using. There's always going to be some sort of instability, or just in terms of, like, screen, like screen instability, or latency added, all of that stuff. That's a you thing, man. Like, that is 100% a you thing. If it's going to bug you, if you're capable of using it, whatever, it doesn't even matter. uh Me personally, I could use frame generation, cannot use frame generation, it doesn't really matter to me. I don't really care at this point. Usually on the 1440p side of things, I rarely have the use for upscalers or any of that. If I'm, like, really trying to push the envelope, and I want to upscale to a higher resolution to downsample, some games look significantly better that way. So if I do get to a point where I'm like, oh, this is not that great in performance, then I'll flip on, some FSR. And because after you downsample, it really doesn't matter. Like, your pixels are so tight, it doesn't matter either way. So yeah, you could flip that on, get some of that frame rate back, all of that stuff. And you can literally use ultra performance on any of them, just downsampling from 4K to 1440p. Yeah, you can absolutely use those. You don't lose any image quality. In fact, you actually get and retain better image quality, in my opinion. So yeah, this is an interesting subject, and I think we're going to be touching on this a lot more, because there's a lot of stuff that people just don't understand in these short videos that all of us YouTubers make. You're not getting the full picture. You're getting, okay, well, generally DLSS looks better than FSR or XeSS generally. And generally, I use that word liberally, because generally means that, generally could literally mean, okay, well, the 4 out of 10 times, the DLSS looks better, or 6 out of 10 times, or you know what I mean? Like, generally, it might look better, a little bit more often than FSR or XeSS. There are times when it doesn't look that great. And if you don't believe me, you can go back and you can just watch all the content that every other content creator makes with those games omitted. Like, they don't cover those games. Like, when was the last time you seen them cover, like, WRC Generations or anything like that? It's got DLSS in there. It's got DLSS 3.5. There's a lot of games out there, my friends, that do have DLSS that nobody covers, because they are not good implementations, to the point where it's like, yeah, man, this is the best. And those games generally omit FSR anyways. So there's a lot of games out there that have DLSS that are not even using it. And maybe someday I'll go through and I'll make a whole video on it and show you guys like these games and these implementations, but it doesn't really matter. Like since I bought this AMD GPU a year ago, I have like I was explaining, during the interview with me and Darren, is I've kind of felt like this need to have to defend AMD because there's just a lot of negative nonsense out there that literally doesn't make any sense to me. After owning a 4080 Super, I still have my 7900 XT in there because I like the experience. I personally prefer the AMD experience over NVIDIA. And I learned that early on, with AMD. I I just feel more comfortable with it. It To me it feels more like AMD is going for that gamer, and that's what I consider myself. I consider myself a gamer, more than like a tech wizard or tech know-it-all or any of that stuff. I just consider myself a gamer. And I feel like AMD is able to deliver the experience that I need when I need it right there without having to do a whole bunch, like when I put the Nvidia card in, guys, I it just kind of feels to me like a sterile experience. It's just like, yeah, okay, it's there, and like that hype and everything wears off like super quick when you start to notice, all of the downsides to Nvidia, because there's pros and cons for both, obviously. But when you start to notice like some of the shortcomings of the Nvidia GPUs, you're just like, oh man, well that kind of sucks, and you're like, oh gosh, dude, I get like 15% more, performance on the 4080 Super over the 7900 XT, but is it really worth it to get that? Sometimes it just falls down to like whatever. I mean, I'll definitely tell you, if I was still on the 4K TV, the 4080 Super would probably be my to go. I mean, my go-to experience for 4K for real. But at the end of the day, at 3440 by 1440p, I feel confident in the ability of the 7900 XT to deliver a gaming experience that makes me happy, that makes me proud. And yes, obviously the 4080 Super can do a very good job on this too, but I'm happy with my I'm happy with my AMD experience, so I like to use that and utilize that to play my games. I like it. I like it. I think it's cool. And basically, out of all these videos that I make, I'm just trying to help people. Maybe you too would be like me. If you got an AMD GPU, you would probably find things to really appreciate about it. And there would be things that you would definitely miss from the NVIDIA side, but it's not a bad thing to try something new every once in a while. You get out of your comfort zone, you try something new. Just don't let it radicalize you like it does, a lot of people. There's no reason to be radical. I'm learning from my lessons. I was getting radicalized by the AMD experience versus NVIDIA experience, and I'm glad that I bought a higher end GPU from NVIDIA so that I can really see, like, hey man, this really does, the NVIDIA side does have some strong aspects to it that I just can't do on my AMD cards, which is, which helps kind of balance out that mindset for me, helps me be a little bit better, look at both ecosystems in a different way, helps me to be less, combative and all of that stuff, because I know the strengths and weaknesses of NVIDIA. I know the strengths and weaknesses of AMD. So that definitely makes it better for me to be able to decide or discern which one is best for me when I need that. When a heavily ray tracing game comes out, you bet your bottom dollar that I'm going to be throwing in the NVIDIA GPU, because it usually does work better, and the DLSS is definitely going to help that experience. If a game comes with heavy ray tracing features, 100% is probably going to have the utmost, up to date NVIDIA DLSS, ray reconstruction, all of that good stuff that definitely makes those experiences a lot easier to consume than they would be without it. So, all right, my friends, I'm going to have a link to Darren's video so that you guys can watch that after this or before this or however you guys want to. I definitely appreciate you guys, and I appreciate Darren for going out and doing all of this testing and, coming to the conclusion that he came to. I mean, I kind of already, knew that. Like, if you're doing 4K, there's you're gonna be using upscalers a lot more often than you are for like a 1440p, or 1080p. I mean, definitely you shouldn't need upscalers for 1080p. Period. Like anything from yeah, like these cards are strong. Like I think every card on the market right now is at least minimum entry level 1440p. At least minimum. So yeah, if you guys are using upscaling at 1440p, that that's perfectly fine. But for this level of GPU class, 1440p, you shouldn't have to use it. But like you can definitely use it for like the for the AA purposes. If you're gonna do that, just make sure that you are utilizing DSR or VSR because you're gonna start getting to like bottleneck territory for sure. Like you're gonna want to. I usually do that. Like when I had the 5900X, I would definitely use VSR to like to like boost it so that or yeah, boost my resolution so I wasn't running into a lot of bottlenecks, because I would get a lot of 80% utilization out of GPUs on a lot of games, with that CPU at 1440p. That now it's definitely better with the 7800X 3D. But I still do choose to utilize VSR a lot on these games. So, all right, my friends, welcome or thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. This is a great video. I'll probably definitely have Darren back on the channel, pretty shortly. Like I said, we're gonna do an interview with Tara today. That'll probably be out after this video. So I hope you guys are ready for that. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.